So this is the lesson on highest common factors and lowest common multiples. And as you can see from the definitions in front of you, the highest common factor of two numbers is the largest number that is a factor of both. The lowest common multiple of two numbers is the smallest number that is a multiple of both. And we haven't yet covered multiples, but multiples are just a numbers times table. So if I wanted the first 5 multiples of 3, well, that would just be 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, and so on. Now, those are the multiples of 3. So if we're looking first at the highest common factors, well, we need to list the factors of both the two numbers we're looking at. So if we start off with 20, well, 20 has factors 1 and 20, 2 and 10, 4 and 5. If we consider now 30, 30 has factors 1 and 30, 2 and 15, 3 and 10, 5 and 6. So looking at those values, what is the highest common factor of both? Well, they both have a 1, they both have a 2, they both have a 10, they both have a 5 as well, in fact, but the highest one is the 10. So that is our answer. Now, if we consider the second example, 14 and 12, let's do the same thing again. So 14 has factors 1 and 14, 2 and 7. 12 has the factors 1 and 12, 2 and 6, and 3 and 4, which is the highest common factor of both 14 and 12. It is, of course, 2. That's the only one, except one, that appears more than once. So there's our answer, 2. Lowest common multiples, well, we'll use a similar approach for these easier examples. We're going to just list the multiples of the number until we find a match. So if we do 5 first, the first few multiples of 5 are 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35. Now I've stopped at 35 because I recognise that 35 is also in the 7 times table, and so it's going to be a multiple of 7. It's the only one that is. So therefore, straight away, I don't even need to do the 7 times table. The answer is going to be 35. Now, if we do the same thing with 6 and 10, I'm going to start off with the 6, and I'm looking to find a matching answer that's also a multiple of 10. So 6, 12, 18, 24, 30, and straight away there it is, 30 is a multiple of 10. I mean, just to check, if I was writing the list of multiples of 10, I'd very quickly get to 30. So you can see the lowest common multiple of 6 and 10 is 30. Now, when we get on to more complicated examples, often you can just see the answer. You may well be able to see the answer straight away for this question, but there is a better method if it gets really, really complicated. So I'll use this example to show you this method, and it involves some of our previous work on factor trees. So if we start off by writing the factor trees out of 60 and 72 and writing them both as products of our prime factors, we should be able to see some patterns and some ways of finding the highest common factor. So 60 is 10 multiplied by 6, and they both break down into 5 times 2 and 2 times 3. So we can certainly write 60 as 2 times 2 times 3 times 5. If we now do the same thing to 72, 72 will break down into 8 and 9. The 8 breaks into a 4 and 2, and the 9 breaks into a 3 and a 3. The 4 is not yet a prime number, so that will break down into a 2 and a 2. So you should be able to see that I can write 72 as 2 times 2 times 2 times 3 times 3. So the first step is to write them both as products of their prime factors. Now, how is this going to help us find the highest common factor? Well, we need to look at some patterns. Now, obviously, 60 and 72 both divide by those prime numbers you can see in front of you. But which ones do they both divide by? Well, they both have a 2. They both, in fact, have another 2. And they also both have a 3. So, what is the highest common factor of 60 and 72? Well, it's going to be 2 times 2 times 3, which of course is 12. So that is how you can use factor trees to find the highest common factor. You can also use factor trees to find the lowest common multiple. Now, we're going to use the same example to save a bit of time. So, as you've already seen, 60 is 2 times 2 times 3 times 5, and 72 is 2 times 2 times 2 times 3 times 3. Now, we're going to be thinking of multiples now, so we're going to be multiplying lots of these numbers together. Now, we want to, in this example, multiply everything that appears together, but we don't want to count things that appear twice. So, if we start off with 60, well, 60 is 2 times 2 times 3 times 5. And so if we now look at 72, we have already used 2 2's. We've already used a 3 as well. So what we need to do now with this is to now multiply our 60, our 2 times 2 times 3 times 5, by whatever's left over from the 72. So I can times that by the 2, isn't there? And there's also that 3. Now, if we multiply these together, we're going to have our lowest common multiple. So 2 times 2 times 3 times 5 times 2 times 3 is 360. And if you check, that divides by 60 and it divides by 72. That's all you need for the next set of questions. Good luck!